Hello and welcome to another episode of The Aftermath. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Dylan.
Get a peek into our brains.
And Ethan.
I don't want to peek into your brain.
Well, that's what they're doing.
Well, you're about to. You're about to.
They're hearing our freaking thought words.
They're in your head. Get them
I'm
out
not
of your
opening my
head.
mouth right now. I'm just thinking these
This is
words
all
of
things
existence.
speak.
Mind comms.
We are in your walls.
You do not recognize the bodies in the water.
Oh,
If
yeah.
the worms are in your skin, you have to tear them
Yeah,
out.
you have to take it off. You have to take it off. Take your skin off. You have to
Yes,
take
return to the lake. Return to the lake.
Oh,
I'm sorry. That.
All right, now that we got all the fucking schizos out of
exactly.
here.
Yeah. Now,
No, that's
hopefully you've
scary.
taken your medicine if you're going to watch this video.
I'm glad that in the first 60 seconds of the podcast we have really covered all the bases.
Yeah, it's like half our target audience out the window.
Yeah,
schizos. All the schizos are gone. I'm
So
sorry.
we just need to do like a
All right. This is
yeah,
too much.
and there you go.
I have a headache
Now we're good. Now I really have covered all the bases.
When
Anyways,
we say voices in your head, we mean it literally.
Yeah, why do we? It occurs to me now that you've pushed all the buttons live. Why do we have that soundboard?
well, you know,
we don't use it as often as I
it occurs to me now. Why do we have that soundboard?
because it's cool.
because it's cool and I want
The
it.
option is there.
It's not like the
It's like a nuke button.
It's not like the outro is on there, so we just push the button and
Yeah.
no, like that's all edited in post. Like,
No, it's
so,
just a funny noise machine.
yeah, that's our literal funny noise machine.
So,
Man.
anyways, as you have probably seen from the title of this episode, we have watched the live action Ghost in the Shell.
How did you coin it, Ethan? The Scar Jost in the shell.
Oh yeah, Scar Jost in the Shell. Scarlet Jo. I thought I was like, listen, I coined a lot of terms and I don't want to share all of them in the podcast. The Scar Jost in the Shell, yeah.
Right. That's the one.
That's the one that makes sense for this movie at least,
Right.
because the other ones are Ghost in the Shell movies.
Yeah. It fits.
Yes.
This is a mixed review for me.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of aspects I really, really liked, but it's generally it's like a kind of mixed overall. Yeah. I mean,
How do you feel it compared to the original?
Well,
I know it's been a while.
That's kind of the issue.
Since we've
That's
seen
my
it.
issue. Is not only has it been a while since we've seen it, but we also watched the original in Japanese with English subtitles, which I've already been over. That's pretty much the reason why I don't like anime. Is if there isn't an English dub that's good, I can't keep up.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of this felt completely new, even though I've seen the original and did a podcast on the original, and I probably at the time knew what was going on in the original. But going into this, the only scene I recognized and the only part that I even remembered this is based on a different movie really is the one after the dump truck where she's invisible fighting that guy in the water, which is a really good scene, don't get me wrong. But the reason why it's kind of like a mixed review is like I'm not going to say the first, I guess for simplicity's sake, I'll say the first half. Maybe less than the first half, though, because around the halfway point, it really picks up into its own thing.
That dump truck scene is like the halfway point. A little after that.
In that case, I'm wrong. Either way, it really picks up. Either way, I feel like for a good portion of this movie, if you haven't seen the originals or don't know anything about the original Ghost in the Shell, none of it makes sense. Not only does none of it make sense, really. I mean, like, on its own, it makes some sense. Like, you could tell they're telling a story, and you could just wait and make sense of it.
There is also that little prologue text at the beginning that explains where the world's at right now.
Yeah, no,
Right.
I'm not saying that the world's at doesn't make sense. It's just trying to follow the story, right? And it's like trying to follow along. It doesn't.
I was actually going to say the opposite of that because
Really?
I think compared to watching the original film, the original anime from was it 90? What is it? 90 something.
I mean, I'm not comparing it to the original. The original could be harder to follow.
I'm just saying, in comparison, I thought that this was.
I thought that if you haven't seen the originals and know about it, like you guys both, I think, clearly enjoyed this movie more than I did because you've seen a significant amount of the previous Ghost in the Shells. And
I'm kind of leaning towards your camp right now.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
so,
whenever I first saw this, I felt about the same.
So-
Seeing it again, I mean, I always figured it as just a really pretty film.
That's what I was going to say. As a movie and as a storytelling, I think that it's good. Like I said, I just feel like, again, and I could be mistaken, but it seemed like, at least for a good portion of it, the target audience was people who've seen the original.
Right.
And
Which is
it gets to a point where it comes into its own, and I love the storytelling. And I was joking around where I was like, where I was like, is this guy really the bad guy? Because they make it. I won't really like spoil my full like review, but the bad guy who ends up not fully being the bad guy. For a second, I was about to say my favorite character is the villain in this movie, because the villain is, just to give a synopsis of his character. Major was created because they put a brain in a robot. Okay, simplicity. That's it. They put a brain in a robot, and she's a thing. She's trying to figure out if she's human or not. But they also gave her artificial memories, so she doesn't really remember who she truly is.
Right.
This is the guy comes before her is a guy, and he's a failed experiment, and he was apparently awake during the whole process. So he felt them taking his body apart and just awful things. Oh yeah. And so of course, not only does he have this horrible like PTSD mentality, but also all the people who did that to him are on a literal hit list, and he's trying to kill them.
Yeah.
And I was like, this guy's not the bad guy.
And so this
guy's what is it? Vigilante. I was like, I love this guy.
This is what I'm talking about, is that the original movie didn't really have that. So what I'm saying is, like, I think that for a movie, this film did a better job of introducing people to the franchise, because we got to see like who Bato kind of becomes into like his kind of cybernetic self. We got to see like a really robust, I would say, backstory on Motoko, because that's not even her name. The Major, she goes by something different.
And that's where that's one thing. Bato, if you guys didn't keep saying his name, even though I loved his character, I wouldn't have known his name.
Of course.
Really?
And I wouldn't have known his name, and he wouldn't have seemed like an important character until more than halfway through the movie.
Right. Yeah.
I loved his character, but having seen the previous things, you know that he's a cool character, and so it makes it It makes it like, oh, this guy who I don't even know who is, by the way. I pretty much haven't seen him yet. He pulls out a sick ass revolver and kills two people at like the end scene of the movie, and you guys are like, they gave him his revolver, and I was sitting there like, who's this guy?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, yes, there is some what is it called? Fan service.
Yeah.
But it's not egregious. No. I would say it is not aggressive. It is very minimal. Well, okay, but let me say this. Let me finish my statement.
Yeah. I never finished mine.
I know. Well, what I'm trying to say is that I'm trying to also defend the film. It feels like you're shitting on the film.
No, I was going to get to that.
The film. But what I'm saying is that I'm trying to look at it from the lens of someone who potentially has not watched anything of the. No. I'm saying has not watched anything. If you were to just go in and watch this film, it is a fun film to watch, and the story is easily digestible.
I still think that's me. Because of how little I remembered, I still think that's me. I walked into this not knowing who Bato is, who the characters are. Right. I thought it was a good movie, and I really enjoyed the movie. But the reason why I'm giving it like a kind of on-the-fence review is because, well, one thing, this is a kind of a pet peeve. The usage of slow motion was just annoying. I really don't like slow motion, generally speaking. And if you do it 2 or 3 times, cool. But they did use it. Now, luckily, they gave you a good portion of the film that just didn't have it for a while. Mm-hmm. But
and also
there was
the
a
original used slow motion.
I mean, check my review. Maybe I liked it in the anime film, but I would think I wouldn't have liked it then either. I just think slow motion. It's just, it feels like you make a scene drag on for like no in like some of the like Marvel fights, right, where they're like a whole lot going on, you kind of want slow motion to see everything going on,
right?
But they don't give it to you in that instance. So in this one, I feel like maybe if it was going quicker, I wouldn't have seen the fights that were going on. So maybe I'm taking it for granted. But I was a little bit like, oh great, slow motion again, right? But I really think that it's just there's this portion of the movie where you're kind of sitting there like trying to figure out where it's trying to go, sort of, maybe, and like I don't really know how to explain it.
But really makes me sad. That really makes me upset, because I would say that this movie, as a story as a whole, I thought was more succinct and understandable than the actual original film was.
Oh damn, bro!
Personally, I thought that I watched this film and it was, now again, I looked at it not in context from everything else. I liked the original films. I love the original anime film or films, and even the standalone Complex show. I look at this as the lens of, this is a different retelling of the same story. Mm-hmm. This, for what it is an artistic recreation of what the first film is. It even has, I'm not even going to get into that right now, but it has, for beat, same shots as the original anime in live action, but it has its own freedom to tell the story. And I enjoyed the original story, but for what this film was, I watched this whole film, and knowing the characters and knowing the story, I liked the progression of this story in this film, I think, a little better.
I may as well skip to the second half then, because that's the part that I enjoyed. Because I'm not saying the movie's bad. It's just that I felt like when we're watching this, there was a good bit of the movie where I don't even know how to describe it. it's not that it was poorly told, because I knew what was going on with the characters, and I knew that she was an agent, but it felt like they lined things up where it's like, she wants to figure out who she is, and instead they're like, we're going to get straight to the action. This person, kill that person, slow motion, she's invisible. And I liked it, but it felt like the point that it was trying to get across, it's like, pause, let's do random stuff for a while, and then we'll get into her history. When it got to the point where I really think that the point where it picked up, and picked up big time for me, where it went from like, I'm watching it, and kind of meh. And then there was a point where I was watching it and I was like, all right, this is pretty good. There's a point where it picked up and went into, I'm invested and I really enjoy this experience. And that is whenever she meets, what's the bad guy's name?
Kuze.
Bad guy. Right? Robot. Okay, cool. When she meets that guy and he tells his story and she figures out what she is, and we find out that the bad guy is actually just Giga Chad.
Yeah.
Right? That's whenever it picks up. Because I'm like, wow, the villain may be my favorite character in this show. And then we find out he's not really like the villain. And then there's like really good writing that comes in whenever he's talking about things, and he's like, do what you were programmed to do. And like, there's so much good. My favorite writing is whenever they're like, when she's talking to the lady and she's like, you're going to delete me. If you're going to make me forget things, make me forget you. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
I think that the actors did a great job. Bato did a great job, his actor.
Oh, yeah.
I really enjoyed it. But the point where I felt like I actually got invested and started truly just enjoying it is after that guy introduces himself and you figure out like, I hate to say like figure out what's going on, but you kind of figure out like where this is going.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
you see the bigger
we're going to
picture.
get... And then you end up getting this cool backstory of her, which apparently is not associated with the original films because we don't know any of her backstory in the original stuff. Right. I thought the backstory was really, really cool though. I actually kind of like that. Because I was wondering, I was like, they did 98 failed experiments. Where are they getting these kids from? Where are they getting these assuming kids? Because I just kind of guessed. But
yeah.
Like where they get... And you were like, I don't know, maybe like the homeless or something. You're right. Yeah. Touche. Take people who just people don't pay attention to. But also,
anyways,
I felt like it didn't get really good until that scene for me, and that was whenever I was like,
I think it was a slow build up. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say it didn't get good to that part. I'd just say it probably took its time getting there. But again, I think it did still establish the characters really well, in my personal opinion, because I thought the camaraderie that was shown off between Bato and Motoko was great, because that's kind of what
it's a pair that I will never get sick of.
And I thought that both of the actors did a great job during that.
Amazing.
Like I said, by me saying that before about me enjoying the film doesn't discredit the original. Right. I love the original for what it is.
Yeah,
I don't want to.
It's just another piece.
It's just another retelling of the story. And I told Dylan this before.
Yeah, we had a little conversation about like how it fits into the franchise.
Yes,
where I had voiced my like initial like meh-ness about the film whenever
that's what I'm curious about is before we move too far forward, I want to know why your review is the same as mine, where you're like 6 out of 10.
It's
because I don't think it was a bad movie, but also like I've 100% watched movies that I have been like way more invested in, and I think and I can't even fully explain why. And I think maybe part of it, before I interrupt you again, I think maybe part of it is because it's a hard world to retell in live action. Yes. And I think that like the bodysuit was really nice, but you can tell it's a bodysuit. Right. And like there's like where I think it might just be that the world itself is really hard to retell, and they did a great job.
Oh yeah.
But I really think that might just be the key. That might be why it's mid until I get the real character development part, because like it's just hard to really capture what's going on. And I think they did a great job with it. But
now, the way I had approached this film initially, before I watched it, was that I was still like on the fence about it, because live action adaptations of anything
generally don't get your hopes
go
up
over very well. So I'm like, I'm gonna give it a shot, and I did, and by God, it was one of the prettiest fucking movies I had seen in a while.
It is definitely
visually pleasing, but
it got some good stuff going for it. Yeah.
The main things I took away from it were the character interactions. Like, they did the characters pretty well, I think. Mm-hmm. But it just sat on that weird, not even fine line of, I want it to be like the original, but not. Like, have you ever felt that way about something? Like, somebody tries to rehash something that you've either grown up with or really like,
and you want it to be as good as the original, but just not similar necessarily.
The only thing that I have kind of felt something like that about was the like the new trilogy of Star Wars films.
Yeah.
But even then, I went into that with an optimistic outlook of like this is a new thing.
Right.
Mandalorian. Like I went into that expecting garbage fire trash with coming off the heels of the new trilogy of Star Wars films, and I was pleasantly surprised when they did something fresh and new and interesting.
Right.
I have never really felt that before, like going into there and wishing that it was the same thing or it was like some sort of. Okay, so let me just say, I went into this film never having seen it before. I heard your not less than
it's a 5 out of 5 out of 10 review where you're like, this is a pretty average movie.
Less than enthusiastic review of the film. And I also heard from other people that they really didn't like it because of the casting choices. I don't want to get into all that.
Right.
But so me going into this with already kind of low expectations for what I was assuming, the thing that I had said to Dylan, like right after we finished the film, was I am very impressed with them taking the source material, keeping the pretty bits, keeping the really core backbone stuff of it, and then adding their own stuff onto it and making it its own unique thing and making it good for what it is.
Right. For
a standalone movie that is an homage to this 1995 film or anime, I thought it did a great job of like it made it its own. It took liberties where it needed to. Like I said, Bato, again, his backstory is like he was part of these Rangers, which had these like augmented eye socket deals.
Yeah, like a special ops group.
And he just had that the whole time. This film, he gets in an accident and has it changed. I like the fact that they kept his character the same, but they edited how we got there.
Right.
Was it necessary? Probably not. Did it ruin the story? No. I don't think so. And it added some sort of camaraderie. I think it did nothing but add to the characters, I thought. Yeah. So it's little stuff like that I think that they changed things, not because they needed to, but because I think it made it its own unique thing, and none of it was bad because of it.
Right.
And that's why I was kind of sad to hear you guys say it was so meh, because I was like, I was impressed visually, special effects wise, the props, the guns. Oh my God, it was such a beautiful film, and I thought the story was good for what it was. And that's why I was so sad to hear you.
The only reason I don't think of this film as a meh, I only would have thought of it that way if I was expecting like a one-for-one remake.
Right.
Which is how they hyped it up.
Okay.
Initially, I was expecting like, oh, this is just going to be a live-action Ghost in the Shell.
Right.
Same as the original.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
People had a problem with the casting choices. I don't see how they could.
They felt like, may I say, I thought the cast was pretty well diverse.
I think it fit.
They did great.
There was people out there that said that Scarlett Johansson shouldn't have been the lead because they didn't feel like. They felt like they were whitewashing the role.
Oh, whatever. Okay.
Yeah, I was like,
okay. I think they picked ScarJo because they had to pick a super hot actress. That's literally it. They picked Scarlett Johansson because they were like,
personally,
exactly.
I loved her as the major.
To be fair, I think they actually might have just picked her because, like you said, she's A-list. They might have just needed a big name on this 2017 big budget, big name.
Right.
I can, I guess, sort of see, but like whenever I see, like, doesn't she look kind of like the?
She does, yeah.
Okay, because I was like,
kind of.
I haven't really seen the anime in forever, but doesn't she look kind of like the? It seemed like a fitting cast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Jesse, pull that one up.
Right.
Yeah, because I don't remember what the original looked like.
Casting was good.
I think the casting was all right. I mean, that's a complaint, and I can understand that people would have that complaint. But I like I'm looking at these. I'm looking at today pictures of people, and I'm like, you don't look anything like this role.
That's fine.
And so, I think they did the hair pretty good too, in most scenes at least. Yeah.
In the original film, she looks more like this.
Yeah, I think they did a good job.
I think so too. Anyways, regardless, what were you saying before? You were saying it's not meh. You were saying it was like hyped up.
As soon as I found out that it wasn't like one for one, they just didn't copy the movie, and it's a weird thing to hope for because it's just the same movie but live action. But at the same time, you would want to see that. At least I would.
Okay.
At the very least, I think that's cool.
Yeah.
But I was a little more lenient with it. Like, I didn't just outright hate it as soon as I found out, like, it was different. Because they have so much other, like, different iterations in this franchise that I can overlook it as just another part of the series.
Some of my favorite aspects of the Ghost in the Shell universe is Standalone Complex. And it is not, and it doesn't even follow the original source material one for one. And man, I love
one of the best pieces of the entire
I'm telling
series.
you, dude. Whenever at the ending of season 1 and then subsequently like starting and like really finishing up season 2, that was a fun time.
Oh, yeah.
And I loved that. So like I said, I think
it's like Gundam in the regard that there are many pieces to choose from. Just pick a flavor.
Exactly.
That's kind of what whenever you guys mentioned something about this isn't in that, I was like, I forgot there's like 8 different things that
It's like
there's
7 different majors.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yes.
I was like, there's different worlds now, and there's like, it doesn't really matter what the source material is because everything just makes its own thing. I kind of forgot because I asked if like the brains of the kids, if it matters, because I was like, I guarantee they didn't. They probably didn't consider this, but like, your brain is not fully developed for women until you're like 22, I believe, and for men until you're like 25, from what I hear. But your brain's not fully developed until you're like in your 20s.
Right.
Male or female, it's just not developed until you get to that age. And so I was like, does it matter that they're taking these brains from literal teenagers and potentially even kids and putting them in these shells? And they're because the memories they've implanted are all adult memories, it just works.
Right.
And I was like, And then you were like, well, it's actually never been established in the original story. I was like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. This is its own thing. It isn't, because it's in all the other stuff. You're like, her backstory is never really explained.
The first time we get some like real backstory on the Major. And it to be honest, it's this iteration of the Major is in Standalone Complex season 2.
Yeah.
And it's like as you get through it, you kind of get some backstory. So like you get a lot of this character, and then you kind of get like what may have happened to Bronner here.
Right.
So like the fact that they really don't touch on,
they focus on establishing them for an entire season.
Yes.
And then let's get some backstory build up,
which I thought was really cool.
Oh,
and like I said, that's why I think I just loved this movie as I was getting into it and seeing that it was taking bits and pieces and then adding their own kind of flavor to things. I was really impressed with it.
Oh yeah, one of the best live action adaptations of anything I've seen.
Yeah.
I don't really watch many live action remakes because they're bad.
Me neither.
Oh, yeah.
They're pretty just generally bad.
I've singled out Speed Racer and this film. That's it. And that's it.
There you go.
The other ones don't exist.
Right.
The part that I had said initially before we even started recording, when I said like I was right, it says that several of the scenes in this film were exact visual comparisons to the original Ghost in the Shell in 1995. Some parts shown in a city that are even exact recreations of the original artwork in digital effects in the background. And it's that fight sequence where they're fighting on this like very shallow
That's
pool
the only
of water.
thing that I remembered. Whenever she got in the water, I was like, I remember in the original, she's invisible and kicks this guy's ass. And then she rotates that idiot.
The scene that precedes that one, where he's walking through like the grungy alleyway.
Yes.
And there's the like street view shot of that plane flying over.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
Dude, if they shot it, I think they said that I don't really see it right here, but if they did it in a digital recreation or whatever, the tall buildings of those like apartment complexes with the window units and just that grungy nature of all of it.
Yeah.
Prime, dude. It looked identical to the original. And when I was watching this scene, like watching it all play out, I was like,
amazing.
I was so impressed. I was like,
because they don't do that with other
like
and
any
other of
and
the
that's what I was,
that
and
I've
that,
seen.
I think that's why I was so enthusiastic about it. Because going into this, the first few minutes are not like the original. Really,
Right.
You really get this like first probably 10 that kind of like meh part that Ethan was talking about. He didn't really care about. It was like really kind of establishing kind of what's going on here before like the action happens. That kind of builds up to this moment. The fact that I was like seeing the shots and I was like, I have watched that scene where Motoko like kicks that dude's ass on this like shallow pool of water while she's invisible. I've watched that a handful of times.
Oh yeah.
So to watch this in real, like in live action and see these camera shots and see these beautiful,
it's awesome, dude.
Like, but see it in live action, like I was like, wow, what an awesome attention to detail that I was like really impressed with. And I was like, you didn't have to do all that.
Right.
I thought this was going to be a totally different movie, but the fact that we have that one thing that I was like, that's from the original, and I know it is.
You have proven yourself.
You're right. I was like, that's pretty legit. Even like some of like the slow motion, like Ethan was talking about as well, the kicks, the fact she rotates this guy.
Rotated idiots.
Yeah, they get rotated idiots. Yeah.
And it's
that was cool. I like that she like kept pushing him over. It was fun. But like
the fact that he turns around and then blasts his like submachine gun across the water and it like splashes like that.
I remember
he does
that scene in the anime.
Yeah, he does that shot for shot. It's so
and
cool.
it looked just as good. I mean, the recreation was a little bit like the water's like real, so it didn't like sparkle as much, where the water like mists a bit more.
Yes.
Well, I'm sure it did that, but you can't really see it on camera, right? And so
Right.
like it didn't capture that, but the scene still like worked.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, where like the water splashed in such a way that it kind of still worked.
Oh,
I
yeah.
liked it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
The fact that like he was like standing there and like panicked for a second, and you heard the footsteps in the water. I was like, "Oh, this is so cool. I'm here for it."
Oh, yeah.
I mean, his actor nailed his crazy character role
yeah.
like really well. That scene was great.
Right.
I like the end of that scene. Like the character kills himself somehow, but it's not really established how he does it. So he just does this thing where he like does this like little baby hop. He does a little bounce, and I guess he like hung himself, air quotes, or the chain thing around his neck. He broke his neck because you can't just hop and hang yourself. It doesn't work that way. And so I watched the scene and I was like, I know they're trying to tell me he died, but like how? Right?
That thing had a good bit of slack on it. He would have just fallen.
It was like, and also he does this like silly little hop. It looks so funny, and so I was like, I know he just died, but like that was the goofiest thing, like because his hands are like bound, so he just does like a little. He's dead now.
Neck snap.
Oh man,
That's crazy.
I'm trying to think of like what like my next. Oh, I was gonna say they nailed it, making it look like a dystopia.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, also like Cyberpunk 2077 at like every
3DS
quarter.
advertisements everywhere.
No, that's the part that I'm not sure about. Like, I don't know if I feel the 3D advertisements everywhere,
yeah.
but when it comes to just the grunginess of the streets, and then I like the slums, the poor people live in this nice part of town because there's no technology around and they're not cybernetic, and it's like. Clearly, there's like
a divide here.
There's like a dialogue we're trying to have without using words. I'm trying to get the word to describe it, but like
Subtext?
there's like a subtext. Thank you. Where it's like these people who are like poor and live in the bad part of town all don't have robotic implants. They're just normal people and like are clearly living happy lives.
Right.
And so it's like. It makes me wonder if these implants are any good.
Real poor
Right?
people.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes me wonder if these implants are good. And then obviously all the scenes that I mentioned where I was like, the government's taking these people and then saying that they killed themselves. This is awful lot like normal dystopian that we live in now. Like this is pretty
familiar.
So
I just found a little.
I was very uncomfortable by how close we actually are to this dystopia, and
Yes.
that's why I didn't like the movie.
So apparently
it woke me up.
Apparently, the original director for Ghost in the Shell, Mamoru Oshii, this is where it all kind of started from. He had spoken out against the whitewashing controversy.
Oh yeah,
surrounding the Scarlett Johansson playing the Major, despite not being Japanese. It said that he specifically gave her his blessing and said that I believe having Scarlett Johansson playing Motoko was the best possible casting for this movie, and that's really cool to hear.
She does look
I mean,
like she fits the role. I mean,
yeah.
that's kind of the thing.
And at least you get to see, like, again, in this iteration of the movie, you get to see. So, in this iteration, she is taken from this kind of, let's call it camp, I guess.
Yeah, little tree home.
Like there's like this little home, this little like camp where like these people that are kind of against the machine, against the.
Fight the
power. They all kind of go to this little like clubhouse type deal.
They go and they row.
Yeah, fight the power and whatnot.
Right.
Anyways, you get to see her like original self be this like more appropriate, I guess you want to call it, racially appropriate. She looks like a Japanese girl.
Oh, really?
With other people. Yeah. Well, like because whenever like the scene happens, whenever they're like at the end of the movie,
right?
The hut's on fire. There's like people.
Oh yeah,
she's
you can see
standing.
I must have missed that. I couldn't tell.
It's a kid that looks like sort of in the hairstyle that they made.
Yeah.
You can tell it's supposed to be Scarlett Johansson is like a year younger.
Right, but she looks like a well I wouldn't even say that. She looks like she looks like she's played by a Japanese girl.
Yeah.
And it's like, and you could tell that like they drag her away and she kind of like passes through Scarlett Johansson and it's like this new version. It's like, okay, I'm not saying that's what it is, but I'm just saying like, I guess if you want to try and justify what's going on is that they probably
did some editing in the character
creator.
It's
like if you're gonna recreate this woman from the ground up, they made her in some sort of different image.
I was about to say, the character was visibly supposed to be like Scarlett Johansson lookalike, but it's definitely not.
Right.
Just a white girl, like you can tell.
Right. Yeah.
That was one kind of weird complaint for me is that she's only been like in the shell for a year, and it feels like it would be longer,
Yeah.
And so that's not a complaint, but that was part of a confusing factor where I was like. That girl that you just dragged away looks like she's 14 or 15. and you're telling me that this mature, horrifying killing machine, that brain of this killing machine, is in this robot. You got to at least be 20 for that to be. Even though you reprogram the brain, I'm just it's a stretch, right? For this teenage girl who was living with her mom to suddenly be just a godless killing machine.
Not when you can download knowledge.
Okay, good. No, she downloaded how to fight. Right. But she still has the brain of a teenager. That's what I'm trying to say, right?
Upgrades.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but I mean, that's not really a complaint. I don't really, because it doesn't matter for the movie itself. And I enjoyed the movie. Again, the beginning, there's this point that it's iffy, but when you get to the character part, I really enjoyed it. And I liked how, again, dystopian everything looked. And
it felt more,
I didn't like
felt
how it
very
reminded me.
cyberpunk. And kind of like that really cool vibe.
It woke me up. I didn't like it. I don't like it. We live in this. We live in a society. I don't like it, man.
Dude, the first time
we're like 2 years off of this actually happening, and I don't like it, man.
The first time
I hope so.
They're probably already. No, man, this is bad.
Nah,
the
I'm
first
gonna
time,
get upgrades. I'm gonna be cool.
Man, he just wants to get him a cyborg.
The first time that we had
GF.
actually watched like the standalone complex, I think, or we had touched on it.
God, that feels
whenever
so long
whenever we
ago.
talked about it, we had a really deep. I think it was just you and me. We had I believe.
Oh yeah,
we had like a
it was
really
like while we were watching it, we mentioned it on one of our episodes.
Yeah, and it was like we had a pretty deep discussion about like the psyche and ghosts and.
Didn't we had a dedicated episode to it? Didn't we?
I believe so.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't remember. I think it may be on a tandem with another episode,
Maybe,
possibly.
yeah.
I'm not sure. If any of you know out there, let me know, please.
God, I love that show.
You're the one who made.
It's been a while ago. I mean, hey. Anyways, the part that I also wanted to tell you about was the geisha robots from the beginning, kind of part of the film, wore a full head mask that was created by Weta Workshop.
Oh wow!
And was modeled after a Japanese actress, Raila Fukushima.
That's cool.
And the opening or exploding of the geisha's head was a mechanical aspect rather than CGI.
That's so fucking
and the
cool.
inner workings of the head were all modeled after a clockwork technology.
You could visibly tell when it was open.
Yeah.
The 2 scenes you see, that they put more effort into this than a lot of other crap in the movie.
Oh yeah,
you can just when that thing opened up and they zoomed in on it multiple times where she's downloading herself
Get
into
the
it.
money shots.
Right, yeah, they were money shots for sure. It's like they were. No, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be. It's a very, very well designed thing. But you could tell they were proud of this thing. They gave it some screen time. They probably could have and should have given it more, to be honest.
Right.
But they gave it some screen time. They had slow zooms on it while things were happening that other things could have and should have been happening. But it's no, look at this thing for a bit.
Oh yeah.
You know,
It actually
this work of
says
art.
that the model that the head was after, despite Rila getting top billing with one of the rest of the cast members, it actually says that it appears that she is nowhere to be seen in the film.
Wait, really?
Which confused audience. Her face was actually the modeled robot, and that's all that she was in the film. While the background geishas were played by stunt women and dancers wearing the masks that resemble
So
her.
one person who wore that mask was top paid to wear that mask, and you don't even know where she's at.
No. I'm saying that this person, Fukushima, she was the model
the mask was
for
modeled
the face, but she was nowhere to be seen in the film. So stunt women and dancers wore her likeness on screen, and she was one of the many top billing names of the film.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, do you guys want to use my face?
That's
for anything?
crazy.
I'm not gonna be in the movie, but if you want, you can.
Yeah, that's,
Just put
that's
me the
insane. It also says here that Scarlett Johansson does not wear a wig in the entire film for the entire. For the entire production, she had dyed her hair and cut it to be black with blue tips.
Nice.
It had blue tips. It looked like black hair.
Yeah.
Commit.
Yeah, it has a little bit, you can kind of see in certain lights, see little blue tips. It's kind of cool.
I wish I had blue tips.
Blue frosted tips.
I need to frost these tips. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
What was everybody's favorite part?
Who's everybody's favorite character? Mine's the villain who's not a villain.
Bato.
Yeah.
Dude, I love Bato so much.
That robot guy. The Bato's tied
so
pretty much.
cool.
He's he's definitely close, but that guy, he was such a well-written character.
Oh yeah.
And I just sympathize with his freaking horrible incident that happened to him. I can't help but
Dude,
feel like
him.
his character is just it's horrifying what happened. Like, gotta think about it. People talk about like waking up from anesthesia during surgery, right?
Mhm.
And like how horrifying it is, and how it gives people PTSD, which makes sense because that's traumatic, and therefore you wake up from dreams with that, like because you woke up from sleep, you know, like that's 100% a traumatic thing that some people go to therapy for. Some people just try and tough it out, rip, I guess.
Yeah.
But like when you think about like what he went through, that's like waking up during surgery to the extreme, because you're waking up in a surgery that's like torture surgery, like that's inhumane, even if you weren't awake. Like if you are sedated and you don't know what's going on, and that's just it.
That
like
doesn't make it any less awful.
Like you go to sleep and never wake up, kind of thing. Or like they sedate you and then just like rip you apart. That doesn't make it any more humane, right? And so the fact that he was
I had a dentist
awake,
appointment like that once.
right? They were supposed to. I was supposed to be knocked out from wisdom teeth removal, and I just stayed awake. But it's cool because he numbed me up really well, so I just didn't mind, and I was just like to him the whole time, and he was like, "Why is this kid still awake?" I was like, "What's up, bro?" But like, I didn't undergo anesthesia; they just gave me something that was supposed to put me to sleep, and I sobered up as soon as he was like, "We're gonna start," and I was just sober.
Like, oh shit.
Yeah. So, but some people have to do anesthesia, but I didn't want to pay for that.
Yeah. If you liked this version of Kuze, you would like him even more in Standalone Complex. That motherfucker is fleshed out like nobody's business.
That's one of the cool things about this as well, was that they took that from there.
Right, they just snatched him out of
out of Standalone Complex, and but again, it didn't feel forced into it.
No.
It felt good because it felt like like we said, the initial part of the movie is like setting him up to be this bad guy. You're like, oh, this is the antagonist of the film. You kind of get a little.
He looks like Emperor Palpatine.
You
see Emperor Palpatine, and you're like,
what is the guy's name? The business guy, the real antagonist.
Oh, jeez.
Crippler.
Cutter. Crippler. Dude, that's great.
Yeah, anyways.
We gotta use that for a villain name.
Yeah, the Crippler. Anyways.
Like a wrestler name, not a villain name.
No,
the Crippler.
You get like a little sprinkle of him at the top where it just feels like he's this kind of like corporate,
right,
extension or whatever.
Asshole.
But he does feel kind of like a bad guy. So you get this original startup of like, this is who the real bad guy is. And then like Ethan was saying, you get this real heart-to-heart moment with this character.
Yeah, a fucking Sith Lord shows up.
Yeah.
His first scene, he kind of waxes poetic about what's going on.
Right.
And you find out that he's the first failed experiment, which means shortly later you find out there were 98 failed experiments.
Right.
Again, horrifying, dystopian, awful. But in that scene, right, the whole time, and I said it out loud too, and the whole time I'm thinking, like, there is no way this guy stays the villain, right? If anything, out of everybody in the movie, hot take, he's the only right character. The only vigilante guy who knows what's going on and is trying to put a stop to it. Because even though these guys are in this cool secret task force killing terrorists, right? Don't care. You can argue about that if that's good or not. But this guy's putting it into a secret, like, freaking Splinter Cell organization.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm like...
Uncovering an atrocity.
And I was like, bro, I'm going to be honest, if this dude stays the villain of this movie, I might be a little upset, but I'm on his team. Even if he dies, even if he loses, I'm on his team anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
There was 2 times in the film where I was scared that a character was going to get shot at a wrong moment, and that was one of them. Whenever he was having that real moment with Motoko, and then, of course, I was like, oh, please, Bato, don't.
Bato and the boys are running up.
I was like, please, Bato and the boys.
Please don't do it. I was like, and of course,
if he died there, the movie would have been it would have been a 0 out of 10 if he died there. Honestly.
They're in the middle of that conversation, and then, of course, it hard cuts to Bato blasting open a door with explosives, and I thought he got shot, and I was like, okay, no, he didn't get killed.
If
like,
he died there, it would have killed a great character moment for both of them later.
Yes.
And, like, the ending would have made no sense. And if he died there, this movie would have been a 0 out of 10. As it stands, the ending was like, man, it was like super feel good, but I liked it.
Yeah.
It's super feel good in that she, like, the guy, what's his name? The, like, guy who never speaks English in the movie. The head of their organization.
Yeah.
Fucking.
I don't know if he speaks. I don't want to culturally appropriate, but I don't know if he's speaking Chinese or Japanese.
No, he's the general, he's the big guy.
Yeah,
Aramaki.
Okay,
Chief Aramaki.
Chief. The chief. Oh, cool. I'll just call him the chief. All right. So the chief is in the room with the final big bad guy, and he's about to shoot him. And essentially, he asks the major. He asks her if he has permission to kill this guy, because I feel like deep down, this is what I got from it: is he knows that she wants to do it herself.
Oh yeah.
So he asks, and in the movie they make it out this. You have to say that you consent.
Before there are any alterations to your brain, you have to
Before there are any
like a
anything,
verbal
and I guess
consent.
that's because like everything's on the internet, so that audibly can be heard. So if you get like some more cybernetics, then you have it's like signing a consent, right?
Right.
And so you have to audibly say. So
With your
multiple
name,
times in
yeah.
the movie, she says she consents. That is whenever she's like getting supposedly the memory wipe serum, and she's like, "I don't consent to this," crying. Well, again, crying. Is she robotically programmed to cry? I'll move on. Cry code activate.
Right.
But she's like, I don't consent to this. And the teacher who's actually giving her just like, what I guess is like a saline solution, who cares? And she's like, we never needed your consent, but she's actually not killing her. That was a cool scene too.
Yeah.
Basically, he asked, like, do I have consent to just murder this guy? Because I think deep down he knows the major wants to do it.
Well,
and
and
she's
it's
like,
also, and it's, I think it goes into what he asks right before that. He's like, I'm here with Cutter. Do you have anything you want to say? And then all she says is, this is
justice.
This is justice.
This is what I was built for.
And then of course he's like, say no more. And
It's like,
you give me consent,
I got you.
right?
Yeah. And
So
I
it's
I like it because then it cuts to her, and again, this is the feel good part that like. Again, it's mixed for me because I like endings that have cutting, moments,
Right.
even if they're
Right.
good or if they're bittersweet. Because like my favorite character like dies, but not really. He just uploads himself back up into the cloud. So his brain is dead. So like the human part of him is dead, but is he human still? We're getting into deep stuff.
Right.
But like still like it is kind of bittersweet, but still this feels like a little bit of a cheesy moment. It was still well done where she like says, "My name's Major." And I can sit, and he just guns him down, right? And the big bad guy's dead, and there's a
double tap to the chest.
Yeah, there's a dramatic walk off, and he falls into the water. And like, feel good as it is, it was also like, get wrecked. Like, it was kind of nice, Like I still enjoyed it. As far as endings go, I'll take it. It also opens up the book of now is this guy who was human and tortured still human? Now I'm gonna say not really.
Yeah.
Not really. Now that he's uploaded all of his stuff into like this data thing, if we give him a new body, I mean, he's like sort of human.
That's kind of what happens
Computer
in the original. She
Yeah.
actually does kind of upload herself to the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Because like I would argue that this is, even though it's like a horrifying thing, I would argue that Major is still human.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
the emotional, everything that matters, supposedly,
Yeah.
they call it a ghost because the shell is the robot and the brain and all of your emotions and your soul. So like,
Your spirit.
hypothetically, your
Yes.
spirit, if you're like religious, I don't know, is all still alive. And therefore, you're still you. And it's like, if you get shot in the head, your brain turns off and you're still dead.
Right.
Where, like, yeah, your arm can get ripped off and you can get a new robo arm, but like, you're still you. And so I would argue that Major's still a human. The question now remains, is my favorite character still a human? Which is, I would say no, but it's still neat.
Yeah.
Like,
He's a Dyson sphere human.
let
Possible
me just say the
avenue.
name Dyson ball vacuum is very misleading.
wow.
Oh my
That was bad.
Yeah.
Um,
But to go back a little bit, that's another one of those scenes that I thought was really good that they took from the original, and it's whenever the chief can't find Motoko, and then Bato's like, "Oh, don't worry, I know where she's at." I was like,
Dude,
I
love that
and
scene
dude, I was
so
like,
much.
and I was like, whenever he said that, I was like, "Oh, please!" And then of course she's down at the bottom of the water, just like
Boat
chilling.
bonding moment.
Yes, she's like chilling out in her sensory deprivation, chamber, basically, just
Yeah.
at the bottom of the ocean. Ends up getting her way back up, and then this one was kind of interesting because in this one it kind of had like a different take about it. Initially, she like gets back onto the boat and is kind of like troubled about the situation.
Yeah.
Because
Still trying to come to grips with her
Right.
situation.
Well, but not only that, in this version of the movie, what happens previously to that is like she is no longer, she's like nixed from like the group technically because of choices and things that she did.
Yeah.
So the fact that like one of her team is there, she kind of immediately jumps to like, I didn't ask you to be here, and he's like, well,
You never do.
you never do. And then she was like, if you're gonna go ahead and kill me, like just go ahead and get it over with. And he was like, that's not what I'm here
Like,
for.
quit saying shit like
Quit
that. You're
saying-
gonna piss me off.
no, what was the actual line though? Shut up. I think.
No, it
Or
was
something.
just saying, quit saying shit like that. You're gonna piss me off.
Oh, that was it. But yeah, no, quit saying that before you make me mad. Yeah, that's what he says.
Yeah.
I like that because at some point he said something, and she's like being dramatic, and
Right.
his response was on the lines of "shut up," and I loved it.
Stop that shit right now.
Yeah,
Missy.
right.
Yes,
I'm here for you.
Right. And of course, he cracks open I think he's already drinking one, and he hands one over to the major. That
Which
she doesn't do
again,
anything.
She just completely ignores.
brought up the
Yeah.
question. I was like, is there code that says she's 3 beers deep, right? Is there drunk code? And the problem is, if she gets in a fight, is bar fights...
Is there an alcoholism meter?
Well, yeah, no, but the
Yes.
thing is, that meter, because it's all just code, could just deactivate if she got in a fight. So I'd be like, man, that ruins bar fights. Bar fights are gone. The whole point of a bar fight is because you're drunk and you're fighting.
Right.
Yeah, if you're just a robot who just sobers up when you get punched in the face because your code requires you to, it's pretty boring.
I believe in
The headcanon of this
I
series
told
is so great.
I told you it before. I was like, I'm pretty sure that I think I don't remember the line verbatim, but I believe the same sort of interaction happens where like he's already drinking one, or he cracks with one, is like, oh, you want one? And then she's like, I'm not gonna get the effects of that. I think she says something like that, where she says kind of something off the cuff, like I can drink it, but like it's not gonna do anything for me. I'm all robot.
It's amazing to me that in that original film, him offering her a beer is what is the launch pad for that whole philosophical conversation they end up having.
They have because they have a deeper philosophical conversation.
Yeah, she's going through that whole "Am I still me? If I am what I am right now?" kind of bullshit, and he's just like, "Bro, I just want to fish and have a beer."
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was it. That was it too.
Just come on.
Oh man.
Oh,
that's one thing he says as well. She's like, "Why are you here?" And he's like, "I'm just here to fish."
Did you see any down there?
Yeah,
What a good line. You seen it down there?
That's so good.
It's great.
I'm just here to fish and drink beer. Did you see it down there?
I'm telling you, man, you cannot do Bato wrong.
Dude, Bato's
Across
such a
like
great
every
character.
interpretation, he's just perfect.
I love whoever the actor was for. I believe it was a Russian guy.
Really?
I think so.
Let's
I could
look
be
him
wrong.
up real quick. I actually don't know his name.
I believe he has a very interesting last name. Oopsie.
It better be a Russian as hell. if it's not, I'm not gonna make it.
He
a
fits
Russian
the
name.
bill for sure.
Oh, never mind. It's not super. It's as big, but like
Pilou.
Oh, he
Dude.
played in
What the
Yeah,
fuck? He's
yeah.
Euron Greyjoy.
Yeah, right. I just realized him.
No freaking way.
What the fuck?
I had
He does
no
a great
idea.
Euron Greyjoy too.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
Wait, is that
I-
Euron Greyjoy?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Yeah. This scene, I recognize him now. He does a great job with that character too.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. I did not know that.
I like his
Yeah,
first.
and
His
he-
first picture is definitely a professional headshot, and I
Oh,
love
yeah.
it. Look
and
at
he
that.
looks and
There's
he,
an aesthetic.
and he is every bit of 6 foot, my guy. I tell you what, standing next to
This
Scarlett.
motherfucker pulls
Well,
off
Scarjo's
the
like
tank.
5'5"
Yes,
or something,
but
right? She's like so
regardless.
small, and he's a full-on 6
But what I'm
foot
saying
giant.
is like, but what I'm saying is like
He
in
fits
the,
the bill.
in the show, like you look at Bato and
He's a fucking giant.
He's a giant man. So even if this, like, he may not be super big in real life, but compared to Scarlett Johansson and with most scenes where he's
It's
like standing there,
perfect.
he just looks like this
Oh yeah.
this domineering presence, which is so cool. Yeah.
I had to look it up because I was wondering if my like random number I threw out was correct whenever I said 5'5", because I would be very concerned if I got that right first try, right? And people would be like, "How do you just know her height memorized?" Had to look it up. I was close though. She's 5'3" actually.
Oh my God.
That's why he looks like a giant compared to her.
Yeah.
Because like you can see him, he's pretty yoked. Like look at that
Oh,
scene.
yeah.
That dude's
Yeah.
pretty. So like it's not just height. He's got width too, and so that's why he looks like a giant. But also she's 5'3". So
Oh yeah.
The
He
more
looks great.
I'm telling you, like the more I look at some of these images, I'm like I didn't even have to really get a full understanding of the character yet. I saw him with that
hair.
bleach
Oh,
blonde
yeah.
hair with it kind of spiked up, and I was like,
Like,
I know
oh,
that's
that's
Bato.
Bato.
I know it, man. I could just tell.
It's either the crew cut or the fucking ponytail.
Right. And may I say, dude, the freaking costume design for this entire film
Oh, it's great.
makes me so jealous and angry. Because look at
you can't get that
look
jacket.
at the jackets
Oh,
that these
yeah,
guys
dude.
are wearing. This guy,
All right, add it to the list, Dylan. We need Dog Street, Gang, and that
yes,
jacket.
the Dog Street T-shirt and Bato's jacket.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, dude, I don't know where you can get shit
That
like
might be, if you scroll up to one of the previous ones that has the fluffy collar, that might be why you want the fluffy collar thing.
Yeah,
This might be where it all started.
maybe.
Well, there's
Actually,
numerous
That's a pretty
characters.
solid jacket. I don't know what I could wear it to that I would look like I'm just wearing a
and then
jacket,
the-
but I would still do it.
And then whatever they used for the guns in this film, there's so many cool, interesting, unique things about the guns that are just so interesting and futuristic, and I love them. They're so awesome, and it makes me so sick because I'm like, why can't I look like that?
Yeah,
Why can't I have a sick-ass jacket
with a future gun.
with a future gun? Yeah. Here we go.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
The
get up.
fit.
Look at this.
Holy shit.
That's the shotgun thing they used.
Bullpups your shotgun.
Yeah, freaky
Yeah.
bullpups your shotgun.
God damn.
Like, look at that. The thing is, so initially he's in this bar, and it's like they're like a Yakuza bar,
Right.
and of course,
trying to find more information about what's going on.
right, and he has this like really chunky weapon that he has kind of like stashed away, and then whenever all the shit goes down, he ends up pulling out this gun, and I mean, it's like boom, like you hear this blast, and I was like, oh damn,
People
what
are
is that?
blown away.
Yeah, and then of
He's
course
shooting him with a gun, and you're like, is that a shotgun?
Yeah.
It ain't a pistol, and it's leaving very large holes.
Yeah.
right. And then, of course, he like dumps out at near the stock of the gun. He dumps out this
Well,
like
it says here
barrel.
it's a weighted shotgun as well. It says weighted
like a
stunt
stunt
shotgun
weapon.
from. So I guess it's meant to. It has to look like it has weight, so they gave it real weight.
Right, right.
Nice.
Unless this is just a random article to buy one, but you know that it would make sense if they weighted it. I didn't think of
This
that.
is her like it's her rifle gun thing right here.
It looks like, I'll be honest, even though I'll admit it's kind of neat. Looks like they just put a bunch of unnecessary
Oh,
squares.
you're right.
Like,
But
it's
I mean,
Yeah.
still like
it's
it
not
just,
That's how future tech is made.
I love it,
by
dude.
adding squares.
Just adding shit to
I'm
shit.
pretty sure there've been actual weapons that they've like tried to make look like that have not worked. They
look so good.
They do. They
Yeah.
do. For me, I'm just saying. I'm pretty sure they've been actual weapons, but like the reason they didn't work is everyone's like they are not comfortable to use. Like that's the reason that they're not successful. Is it's like nothing beats good old AR-15.
Like, look at this.
that looks
like,
so
look at that.
good.
Okay, the pistol holster's neat. Again,
I'm telling you,
practical
we're looking
or
at,
not, I don't know, but it's
we're
cool.
looking at their like
Oh, yeah.
tactical gear, and he has like this like long sleeve jacket, fingerless gloves.
Plenty
He's
of
got
extra
the
ammo.
Fingerless gloves are the most seen thing, and
He's got the he's
I
got
love
the
it.
vest.
I love them, man.
He's got the vest with like all the different ammo pouches, and he has like just a pistol holster right in the dead center of his chest.
Straight in the
And
center of
it's
his
so
chest.
cool looking, man. I wish that I could have like a get up like this. It's so cool.
We need to make this the new thing. We just got to start making this get up. Those shoes,
definitely.
whatever those shoes are, we got to just popularize it.
Of course,
It's gonna happen.
I love it. That's so awesome.
I think they did the eyes really well too.
I thought they were a little creepy, which is probably what's supposed to happen because
Yeah.
they look surgical, you know, like
Right.
it's creepy, but it's good. I think they did a good job.
Right. Oh, what did he say? He's like, say something nice to me. And of course, they
Yeah.
talk. He's like, why did you choose those? And he's like, they're tactical.
Yeah.
I was like,
Got
that's so,
night vision.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she was like
Infrared.
only thinking about work, and he was like, "What else do I have?" which,
Right,
which is the most real line anybody's ever
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
Where she's like, "Really, you got these eyes because for work?" And he was like, "What?" He slaps the armor. Is like, "What else do I have?" Like, I love
Oh
that.
man. Yeah, it's good.
And like the freaking department probably paid for those. That's why he
Oh,
was
I'm
like,
sure.
"Give the most expensive tactical eyes ever." Those are probably expensive
Right.
as hell.
that's crazy.
It's
It
one of
says,
the many perks of working for
But
Section 9.
I also like that he chose that for another reason, and that is that it adds the layer of he chose his eyes to be like this, which means that, as you would have guessed, he could have chose normal eyes.
Right.
He could have chose like robotic normal eyes, right? And I like that details there that like we can pretty much recreate anything to make it look real, and here's another thing to affirm that he picked to have fancy eyes,
Yeah.
which is kind of neat. I like that. That's neat.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's from the original. The picture just to the left there.
Yeah, dude, that's
Yeah.
my favorite.
That's
like
such
side
a
by
what is
side.
okay. I have a question though.
Uh-huh.
What is her Naruto ass headband? It's missing the hidden leaf
it's
village
the,
with the line crossed out because the line would be
puts
crossed
that,
out.
She puts that over her eyes, and the little like transparent visual thing is kind of what makes her head kind of invisible.
Yeah, it's the optical camouflage
Yeah.
cowl.
So in this one, she just has that skin tight suit that she wears to make herself go invisible.
Yeah,
So that's not actually her like skin. It's like her invisible suit that she has.
Yeah.
In this one, she kind of has that, but she also has like this kind of interesting like invisible shield thing over her face too. So
it makes it look like a Naruto character.
I love that.
I like it.
I love that. Bato usually always has this like wrinkly ass scrunch face in
yeah,
like
Scrunched
a
up
lot,
forehead.
But it is pronounced in Standalone Complex. If you look
Yeah.
at the middle picture, like right under this one at the top, yeah, that one. Look at
Yeah.
that fucking thing. He's more of an ogre than a man.
I
I
like
looks
that.
like a monster, dude.
Yeah.
I need to be ogre homies.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
There's my boy right there.
the only smile I've seen.
Yeah,
Right.
it's such a great thing.
I think it was a pretty good thing. If you
Oh, yeah.
haven't seen the movies and the two previous TV series or
Definitely
whatever,
give it a watch.
then
Standalone
this,
Complex is season 1 and 2 is the anime series.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't seen all that, I think this movie might just be worth it. And if you have seen all of that, I think you kind of have to give it a watch because you might like what's going on.
In for a penny, in for a pound.
You might, well, and that, yeah, but also I think that you might like some of the stuff that's going on a little bit more because I know you've watched him and you weren't the biggest fan overall, but I think that having some backstory for these characters and stuff is what makes it better because, again, the only thing of Bato that I really know is what's going on in this. Yeah. And they did a great job with that, but if you know his character, you'd be more stoked to see him doing silly shit. And it would just all kind of... So I think if you've watched any of them, you got to give this a watch. If you haven't, I think this is worth giving a watch.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I don't quite know where it's at, and I didn't have a chance to actually see it, but it says that in an establishing shot of the city, a Pan Am advert can be seen on the top left. The bankrupt airlines inclusion is a reference to Blade Runner, which also had an in-film advertisement for them as well.
That's cool.
How interesting.
Oh, we still need to re-record that episode.
Yes, we do, buddy.
Record which episode?
Blade Runner.
Oh, yeah. I forgot the lost episode.
Mm-hmm.
Although the film is...
We're going to have to rewatch it now. It's been too long now.
Oh, yeah.
I can recall feeling a similar way about that movie with this one. Actually, I think I would say that I liked this one maybe more.
Yeah.
But if I rewatched Blade Runner, I might like it more the second time around.
We shall see.
I recall having a similar mid-opinion of it, though.
Mid-opinion.
Well, yeah, because so far, like... It's hard for me to say, really, like, a lot of movie experiences that I don't like. Yeah. I mean, like, one experience that I can think of, which is one of the first movies that I've watched that I just wasn't really a fan of, was, like, that I should have been, because we can go on ahead and ignore Velocipaster. But one of the first ones I could think of was...
You will never escape.
Oh, dude.
But no, it is Alien. Like, a movie that I thought I would sit there and enjoy and found myself not really enjoying a lot of the experience because, again, there was a lot of dumb stuff. The main character I knew was the main character and would never die, and shocker, she never did. And then there's the whole, like, let's not split up, and then everyone splits up every time and dies. So many things that I was like, this doesn't really make sense what's going on. I don't like it that much.
Yeah.
That's like one of the only movies I can think of that I would say is below mid tier, where it's like I just didn't really enjoy it. And it's like super famous and for good reason, especially at the time.
Right.
I don't think it's bad in that regard, but like I didn't really enjoy it. Pretty much every other movie we've watched, I've at least enjoyed in some capacity. So like I can't really give it less than like mid. Like this was, and this one I enjoyed pretty much overall. But there was just a good bit where I was like, I don't know how
this
to
is
feel.
really cool, dude.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of other fun facts that I'm reading to kind of touch up on some things, and it says that Bato had a specifically designed shotgun for the film.
Oh, nice.
And it said it was created with a futuristic look to it from the ground up, but it had problems on set when the gun kept jamming and refusing to fire rounds, causing the actor who played, I think it's Pilu, I guess his name, Pilu, it caused him to mess up several times. And the director said, the director encouraged him to continue filming as normal, even if the gun wouldn't fire properly. So just kind of keep on rocking and rolling.
Just pretend you're shooting.
Just pretend you're shooting.
I thought I was about to say, like, this leads to a scene where the gun mashes and he throws it at somebody.
No.
That'd be great.
It says that also here that the Bato is shown bonding with several stray dogs, including a basset hound that he calls Gabriel.
Yeah.
And the director of the original Ghost in the Shell, Mamoru
said,
Oshii,
if you're going to make this, you better put that dog in there. I swear to God.
He is a huge fan of basset hounds and had one himself who was also named Gabriel.
Oh,
a basset hound is seen several times in the original film and in the sequel.
I like that you see the dog again because that means he went back to feed the dogs. Whenever he first gets his new eyes, it's really sad because he's like, feed the dogs. I don't want to scare them. And I felt so bad. I was like, even though he's right about the whole like works my life kind of thing, he's like, I do like them dogs though.
Yeah.
And like that was actually low key kind of sad. So I'm happy there's a scene where he has the dog, and then we're worried because the ATF are coming to shoot his dog, and then he just grabs the gun. And you're like, oh good, the dog's safe.
It's gonna be fine.
He reaches over to like pet the dog, and then reaches back, and he's just got a gun. And you're like, wait, what happened? And
the dog handed him the gun.
Yeah, exactly. The dog was like, here you go, buddy. I saw him too. I didn't bark because I know we had this. Like, I love it. He's in on it. The dog's in on it. I hope he's not a robo dog.
That's great.
Yeah, so
That's crazy.
that was a small thing, but I really did enjoy the dog scene.
Yeah.
All the things that have to do with the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
It basically said that the body cast of Scarlett Johansson, complete with a flesh-painted face and wig, was used for the ending of the shelling sequence.
I know flesh paint. I know flesh painted.
so
they
that's
mean
like the
the color.
beginning.
I know they mean the color for flesh painted, but I gotta be honest, it sounds just as dystopian as the movie calling it flesh painted.
Yeah.
Where the
Just saying.
body is now completely formed. That was not actually Scarlett Johansson standing on the platform after the shelling process sequence was done. Whoa, that's
pretty
interesting.
fucking convincing.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's crazy. The director of this film was a huge fan of the original, and long before the film went into production, he saw the film on a VHS copy in his dorm during his college years, and he just had that kind of going, and he said it. He used to watch all the time. That's crazy. There's so many cool aspects about this film. The more I read about it, the more I've seen so many.
It's getting up there on the list.
Yeah. There's so many cool things that went into this film, and you can tell the budget. There's a lot going into it.
Mm-hmm.
How crazy.
Yeah.
One other thing that I wanted to say before we wrap up this episode and move on is that we had talked about there are a handful of Disney films that we want to watch.
Oh, shit.
I am planning, / have already mostly paid for a trip to Disney in September, the first week of September. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm thinking that congratulations, my first actual vacation.
Wait, that means Dad's not home. Party time.
Is I am going. I'm going for 1 week, and this is my first vacation in probably the better part of, I want to say 3 or 4 years. So it has been too
That's why
long.
I enjoyed Kentucky so much.
I know.
I hadn't even been on a family vacation in forever.
I'm telling
and I
you.
had never been on a personal vacation because I just never really had the. So
I've got you guys beat in overdueness
over
for
yeah,
vacation.
yeah. Well, we can do it. Don't worry.
It's probably
I've
been more
already
like
signed
4 or 5 years. I think the last time I went on
I
vacation
don't know, it
was
seems longer than
2017.
it seems like longer than
2017 was like the last one I think for me.
Because 3. I mean, I went on my trip 4 years ago,
Yikes.
and so. Yeah, we're looking for closer to 5 since he had like a real vacation.
Anyways, regardless, I have it planned, have it mostly paid for, super excited. But what I was thinking is in the month of August, we should really knock out some super cool.
Well, the
Niche.
baseline of this podcast, which is I haven't seen the movie and I should have. Like, here's 2 already off the bat: Dumbo and Pinocchio. I never saw either of them.
Yeah.
I have never seen Treasure Planet. That's a big one I want to
Treasure
tackle.
Treasure Planet and Atlantis.
Treasure Planet.
Hemlamtims and Pleasure Planet.
Yeah.
Oh, Pleasure Planet. Let's
Pleasure
go.
Planet.
It's like Pizza Planet from Toy Story, but for
Yeah.
adults.
Where can I buy tickets?
Yeah. Whoa. Dylan is here
we
for
should
it.
end this because now it's all he's thinking about. No,
You brought it up. Where the fuck is it?
Pleasure
where is-
Planet.
and there's more for sure, but literally I just could immediately think of
Yeah.
Dumbo and Pinocchio.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Well, Ian, you'll have to tell us what the fucking mouse says
Oh
whenever
yeah.
you see him.
I'm gonna catch him right up and
Give
go
him
like,
my regards.
tell me what you know about this stuff. What are some good questions I need to ask him?
If you see the
why
mouse-
the fuck did you buy Star Wars?
Where's your Keyblade?
I mean,
Where's your? Also, you mentioned things
where's your Keyblade?
things that you wanted to
Fight
be like the second one but better, or like the second one but different. Kingdom Hearts 3 was the most disappointing.
Oh.
Like the second one, because like you were saying,
Yeah.
I didn't want to mention it at the time, but now that we're like the end of the podcast, I'll just say it because like it didn't feel like it really fit at the time. But you were saying like I wanted it to be like the original, but like a kind of different rendition,
But
or like
more.
better. Yeah, like more. Yeah, something different and ideally better. But it felt like it kind of was mid on your expectation of that.
Yeah.
Imagine that, but like way worse.
It's
where
just
it's like
one of those
they don't
unpleasable avenues.
kind of yeah,
of
but I
being
feel
a
like
fan of something.
I feel like at least for this game, because it's a game, not really a movie. I feel like this game they could have at least sort of matched the quality of the second game, but then Kingdom Hearts 3 was just bad. Hot take: if you disagree with me, leave a 5-star review telling me why I'm wrong, but you like everyone else in the podcast.
Right.
But
And so that we can shun you and ban you from using your ears on this particular podcast.
no, what I told them to leave a 5-star review.
No, we're going to kill them.
Damn.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yes, I agree with you. I haven't
And I
actually
felt the
played
same. I felt the
third
same
game,
way,
but
where it's like I didn't have high expectations for 3, but it would have been nice for it to at least match the quality of one of the first games or previous games that I liked.
I'm telling
and it is
you,
easily the worst in the series that I've been able to play.
dude. I'm telling you, people a lot of times don't like sequels. They like the original more. There is an ongoing theme for this show that I've realized. For me personally,
Sequel bad, except for Aliens.
No.
Aliens great.
I'm telling you, sequel not bad. A lot of times what I've realized is that sequels, I have noticed like the second iteration of certain films, not all of them. Some of them are really bad.
We've gotten some pretty good examples.
We've gotten some
Horse
pretty good
Sense 2.
Yes.
I mean,
What was
that
it
was
called?
Jumping Ship.
Jumping Ship.
Yeah.
Did we watch that yet?
We did.
We did. I thought we did.
a few
Before I
weeks
make this
afterwards.
comment, I was like, I swear we watched
I'm
it.
telling you, Jumping Ship, as far as ratings, did not do as well as Horse Sense because we really hyped up Horse
But
Sense
it was
a lot.
still
It was
criminally good.
a
I was about to say, I know.
For some reason.
We need to watch Horse Sense again so I can remember why it was good. In fact, I don't care if it's
Yeah.
late. After this podcast, let's watch Horse Sense. Let's go in there. I'm going to order some... I can't. It's too late. I'm going to... Oh, man. But yeah, generally sequels, it is iffy, but like there's some things that do it well. And
There's a
I
handful
just-
of them on here that I have said specifically that I've really enjoyed. I love the second remake film of Evangelion. Again, it's not to say that I don't like the original. The original
Nah,
is necessary.
frick the original.
Same thing with the Bayformers, Bay Transformers.
Oh, yeah.
The original necessary. It's enjoyable. It is a movie of its time
It's
in
funny.
2006 or 8 or whatever it is. But the sequel to it really just knocks it out of the park. Anyways, and I think Kingdom Hearts is a prime example of that too.
Oh, yeah.
The first one is necessary. It is awesome. It is fun for what it is. But man, does
They
the second
took the
game
first one and they improved
knock it out
on-
the park,
They,
dude.
they basically took the first game and improved on every single aspect except for like one arguable aspect when it comes to visiting the worlds, in that you don't feel like you understand the reason why you're visiting the worlds as much.
Right.
But like they took every single aspect of one and just made it better. In my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinions, that's a pretty popular opinion.
Right.
But another popular opinion is that 3 was not good. Now, that's not to say everyone agrees that it's bad. I think it was kind of bad. But if you just played it on its own, it's not super bad. But it's widely agreed upon that it's not that good. It's 3, and I think it was just straight up kind of bad.
Damn.
I'll be honest. I played the whole thing, did everything in it anyway, because I was able to have a good time with it. Yeah. But comparing it to every other game and as its own standalone, I thought it was bad. And so it was very disappointing. Even though I had on-the-floor expectations, it managed to fall below those.
Damn.
And same thing with episodes 7, 8, and 9 of Star Wars. I had on-the-floor expectations, and 7 didn't fall below them, but 8 and 9 managed to take those expectations straight to hell. Yeah, I absolutely hated them. And I'm not even saying that 7 was good, just that it didn't fall below my on-the-floor expectations.
Yeah.
Which is not a bold compliment for any movie ever.
Yeah.
Right.
And so there are some things that kind of, even with those low expectations, are kind of not good.
Right.
When it comes to sequels.
Anyways, thank you so much for listening. If you're looking to find us, you can find all of our links in the show notes of this episode, or you can type in The Aftermath on all major podcasting platforms, and you should be able to find us that way. Anyways, until next time, thank you for listening.
Yeah, big preach. See you later.
Bye-bye.